In the beginning of this section, we covered some basic array methods such as push, pop, shift, and slice that allow us to manipulate arrays in different ways. Now, in this video, we are going to explore another array method which is called ForEach. And this ForEach method let us loop through each element of an array and perform some action on it just like for of loop. So let's get started. The ForEach method is a built-in function of the array object that takes a callback function as an argument and execute it for every element in the array. The callback function can have up to 3 parameters, and these are the current element, the current index, and the original array. The for each method does not return anything, it just runs the callback function for each element. Now let's see an example of looping the array using the for of loop instead of for each method. And then we will do the same thing using this for each loop. Now in order to do this, first of all, I am going to create an array const number is equal to this numbers array. Now we are going to loop through this array using our for of loop. So we can write for let number of numbers, then here in this block of code we are going to log this number. Now if I hit save and if we inspect, you can see each and every number in this array printed in our console. And now we are going to do this same thing using our for each method. Now here we can write the name of the array, which is numbers, then dot, then the method name, which is for each. Now here we are going to write the callback function. So we can write function. Now this function have 3 parameters, but we are going to use only one, which I am calling it number. And after this, we have this block of code, and here we are going to log this number. And if I hit save, you can see we have each and every number printed in our console just like before. Now just to separate both of these, now you can see easily that these logs are coming from this for of loop and these are coming from our for each loop. And this is how we can loop through any array using this for each loop. Now here, instead of using this function, we can also use an arrow function. In order to do this, we simply need to remove this function keyword from here, and then we can also remove these parentheses, and here we can write equal to, then greater than. Now if I hit save, you can see our code is working fine. Now this code does the same thing as the previous one, but with a shorter syntax. Note that we don't need parentheses around these parameters if there is only one, and we don't need curly braces or a return statement if the function body is only one line. And now, if we want to access the index or the original array inside the callback function, we can add more parameters. Like we can write number, then index, and at last we have our array like this. Now here we are going to use our curly braces, and in here we can log this index, number, and our array. So console.log the number at index, then our placeholder, then index is, and then this number. Now if we hit save, you can see we have our index of each and every element of this numbers array along with the element itself. Now after this, we are going to log this array, and here we can write the original array is, then this array. Now if I hit save, you can see the number at index 0 is 1 and the original array is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now as you can see, this callback function receives this current element, the current index and the original array as arguments, and we can use them inside of the body of the function. Now the ForEach method is useful when we want to perform some side effect for each element in the array, such as printing, logging, updating, or deleting. However, if we want to create a new array based on the original one, we should use another array method such as map, filter, or reduce, which we will cover in future videos. Now this for of loop is similar to the for each method, but there are some differences. One difference is that the for of loop does not have access to the index or the original array. Another difference is that the for of loop can be stopped or skipped using break or continue statements, while the for each method cannot. A third difference is that the for of loop can be used with any iterable object, not just arrays, while the for each method is specific to arrays. So when should we use the for each method and when should we use the for of loop? Well, both methods have their pros and cons, and it depends on the situation and your personal preferences. However, here are some general guidelines. Use the for each method when you want to perform some side effect for each element in the array and you don't need to access the index or the original array, and you don't need to stop or skip the loop. Then use the for of loop when you want to iterate over any iterable object, not just arrays, and you need to access the value and you need to stop or skip the loop using break or continue statements. Now we are going to take a look on real world example of using the for each loop. Suppose you have an array of objects that represent different products in an online store, and you want to loop through and you want to display their names and prices on a web page. You can use the for each loop to iterate over the array and create HTML elements for each products. Now we are going to loop this array and we will display each and every product to our web page. In order to do this, I just need a div element. So I am creating div with the ID of product, and after this we are going to select this div container. So const container is equal to document dot get element by id. Now the id name is products. I am just copying this and pasting it here. Here we have a mistake. We need to use dot like this. Now after this we are going to use our for each loop, and here we can write products dot for each, then product, and here I am using our arrow function. Now we are going to create a div element for each product. Now to create an element we can write const div is equal to document dot create element div. Now after creating our div, we are going to set the class attribute of our div element to product. Now to change the attribute, we can write div dot set attribute. Then here the first argument is the name of the attribute, which is class, and the second attribute is the name of the class, which I am going to set to product like this. Now we are going to create h3 element for our product names. Now to create h3 element, we can write const h3 is equal to document dot create element. Then here in this method we need to write the name of the element that we want to create. Now after this we are going to change the text content of this h3 element. In order to do this we can write h3 dot text content is equal to product dot name, like this. Now we need to create a paragraph element for the product price. So const p is equal to document dot create element, and then the element name is p. Now we are going to change its text content, and we can write p dot text content is equal to dollar sign plus product dot price, like this. And after this we are going to append these paragraph and h3 elements into this div element. Now to append these paragraph and h3 elements into this div, we can write div dot append child, then the name of the element, which is h3, and similarly we have our paragraph, like this. Now after this we are going to append this div element to our container. So here we can write container dot append child, then this div. Now if I hit save, you can see in our browser window we have each and every product with their prices. Here we have laptop with the price of 500, which you can also see here. So we are looping through this product array using our ForEach method, and we are displaying the name and the price of our products to our users. And that is it for today's video. In this video, we learned about the ForEach method and the for-if loop. We saw how to use them and what are the differences between them. We also saw some examples of how to apply them to real world scenarios. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. If you did, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.